Alright, so I chose the math problem called Meatballs, and it says that it's the G, so that's a high school standard. Then we go to the website. It has Act 1, and so I would first show this to my students. It essentially just shows them this pot, and then there's going to be a bowl of meatballs, and then they're just going to dump them in. And then that's all students would see. Oops. Then for Act 2, it's going to be important that we talk about what kind of questions they have when they first see this. Obviously, one of the first ones is how many meatballs are going to fit in there, or how long is the pot going to overflow. So we would focus on that overflowing question. And I think this would be a really great one to have kids make predictions on again, so they can guess how many meatballs is too high and too low, because it's actually surprising how many you can fit in there. And then we'd have a great discussion about what information they need to know, because there's actually quite a bit of stuff that students would want to know for this. They're going to want to know the height remaining in the pot that's not filled with the sauce. So once we discuss they're going to need that, I could give them this, that there's 4 centimeters. They're also going to want to know the diameter of some of the meatballs, because they need to know how much space each meatball is going to take up. So I could give them a couple samples, and then I would just probably have them pick maybe like 3.5, because that's kind of in the middle of all these, and there's 2 that are that. So we would use that for our measurement. We also need to know the diameter of the pot, which is 15.5, because essentially we're going to have to figure out the volume of this to be able to determine how many meatballs are going to be able to fit. And then it also says that they would need the number of meatballs. I think this part's a little confusing because this is 16 meatballs, but it does eventually show that they dump these in, and it's more than that. So this image, I feel, could kind of throw students off, like that they might think that this is the answer. So if I did show them this, we would need to talk about if this is actually correct, or if they're just letting you know that this is about how much 16 meatballs takes up in just a plain jar with no sauce. Maybe it'd be a good picture to show when they're making their guesses that this is a pile of 16. And then, we would watch the video for the answer, Act 3. And they just essentially start dumping them in. And then we have our counter right here. And then at the end it shows that 36 meatballs are going to fit in there when it's just starting to overflow. So we could watch that whole video, and both of the videos are nice and short, so it's not going to take up too much time. And then for the sequel, just some more questions that children might have, like maybe they worked the math out and it said that there were 33 meatballs, but the answer is 36, so you can talk about how, well, maybe one of your meatballs was a lot bigger in size or smaller in size, so that could account for them. So just some questions that we could talk about once we've done the lesson. So that's the meatball problem.